to The Mineral Way with Dave Michaels and pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Your guide to better health. Discover the power of minerals and nutrients in supporting wellness and balancing your health routine. There's a better way. There's a better way. The Mineral Way.
Listening to The Mineral Way, pharmacist Ben Fuchs and Dave Michaels here to answer your questions. Well, really, it's pharmacist Ben Fuchs that's going to answer your questions. He is the professional worldwide, one of the foremost professionals out there. This guy really knows his stuff. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs joins us here every Monday afternoon to address your health concerns, your questions, emails, text messages, any of that. We will answer them all at The Mineral Way. Now, you can go to themineralway.com and submit your questions there as well, but we prefer your phone calls, 831-479-1080. Your text messages, 831-218-5726. Email can be sent to kscodave@gmail.com, or again, you can go to The Mineral Way and ask your question there. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, are you here?
I am here.
Oh,
and
I'm excited.
We got a nice plug from George Norrie last week. Did you know that?
Did we?
Yeah, he plugged The Mineral Way. He said he listens to it all the time. No, he didn't listen.
He
didn't say that.
I was going to, that would have been awesome.
No, he didn't say that. But he did say, he did let me talk about it for a little bit.
Oh, good. Well, that's
good.
Yeah, George is a great guy, man. That guy is just
George.
a world-class
One
nice
time,
guy.
Were you in Santa Cruz when George came to visit?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was so amazing. He would walk down the street and people would just, they knew who he was, and he would talk to everybody. Everybody. And there were crowds of people gathering around while he walked, and he would talk to everybody. And then he sang. Did you hear him singing? He does karaoke.
Yeah, I did hear him sing, yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good, huh?
He's good.
Yeah, I'm a fan of George. I've been listening to George since, the 90s. Late 90s. Actually, even earlier.
Is that when he took over for Art?
Yeah, I was listening to Art. He used to substitute for Art.
Mm-hmm.
He used to, when Art took a day off, he'd do weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been listening to George since the 80s, actually.
Wow, Ben.
I remember driving home in 1988 listening to the World Series game, the Dodgers against the A's. And when the game was over, Kirk Gibson hit this home run. I remember listening to Art Bell and George Norrie. Art Bell was after that.
Mm-hmm.
That was in 1988. Oh,
wow.
God. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Time flies by, Ben.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Totally.
Somebody said today, I was on the phone, I was talking to him, he said, yeah, I'm a young guy like you. He didn't know all of us. And I was going to tell him, hey, wait a minute, I ain't no young guy, but I didn't say anything to him.
So you just let it slide at that?
I let it slide, yeah, I did let it slide.
All right. 831-218-5726 with your text messages. 831-479-1080 with your questions. Pharmacist Ben, we have a phone call already coming in. But is there anything big in the medical?
Wait a minute, it's not a bill collector, is it?
No. We've got a couple of phone calls coming in now.
Oh my God, I hear it.
So I don't know if we want to get to these right now, or is there anything?
Are they angry? Did I say something wrong?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
You want to get to them?
Yeah, of course. I'll talk.
Okay, let's get out to the phone lines and see what line 1 has to say. I believe his name is Kim. You're in the air.
Hey, this is Ken, K-E-N.
Oh, Ken.
Hey,
Hello, Ken.
I wanted to thank Dr. Ben Fuchs is the most amazing guy there is.
Damn.
And I wanted to point out that he years ago said, if you don't remember anything I tell you all year, he said, remember this, you need to do niacin because it's so good for your health. And I did it, and my energy level increased way higher.
No
I
kidding.
had a lot more energy every day at work. And the bosses really like that.
Have you heard of this stuff called NAD and NADH that they're marketing now? NMN, these various supplements you see, they're real expensive. Have you seen any of those?
No, but if you say expensive, it's probably why I didn't see it.
Yeah, okay, got you. Well, they're all forms of niacin. Niacin is such an amazing nutrient. It's the only, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's the only nutrient the only essential nutrient that the body will actually make in deficiency states. And one of the main reasons why it's so important is because it carries energy in the special structures inside cells that are responsible for turning our food into energy. Niacin is like a middleman. It's like a carrier of the energy. So you eat a hamburger, that hamburger gets turned into little particles, and those particles get turned into energy. I'm being very broad here. And the niacin is the middleman in the process. That's why it's not surprising, Ken, what you just said, how you get more energy from niacin. It makes perfect sense. Good job, buddy.
Okay, well, no, good job for you, because you're the one that directed me to do it. And then I wanted to ask you, the new question is, I'm just starting to get a lot more serious, because I don't quite look all the way pregnant, but I'm way too big in the front. So
wait a minute, are you sure you're not pregnant?
No, I know. I know I'm not that, but it's like I've also stopped drinking beer about 10 years ago or 8 years ago. It's like, so there is no beer going on, which would make me grow there too. But because I've been doing this thing, I wanted to ask you about it. At the health food store, this one, it's the letter L and then a dash lysine or something. L-lysine, and then
L-lysine?
they also recommend
is it lysine?
Yeah. And then they also recommend you do like 5 ounces of water with some Bragg's organic what's it called, vinegar? No, apple cider vinegar with like 1 ounce of vinegar with about 5 ounces of water, and that's supposed to curb your appetite too. But do you have some other magic
to curb your appetite?
Yeah, well, not so much curb. I just want to lose this extra.
Yeah. Let me tell you about that, Ken. Let me tell you about that. Weight gain around the middle, which almost everybody has. For example, do you know anybody, I don't know how old you are, Ken, but do you know anybody who's in their 40s or 50s or 60s who wears the same pant size or belt size as somebody in their 20s, as they were when they were in their 20s? Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah,
every single
right.
human being on, at least in the United States, I don't want to say every, but the vast, vast majority of people will notice that they start to gain weight around the middle, somewhere in their 30s, sometimes earlier, but at least in their 30s or 40s. This is a classic sign of insulin resistance, which is the second point in the triangle of disease. It precedes all chronic health challenges, and it happens to absolutely 100%. Well, let me rephrase that. It happens to almost everybody, right?
Okay.
Now, the reason is because of how we eat in this country, and because of how much we eat in this country. How and how much. You know, I was on the internet yesterday. I was doing some research. There's a new product McDonald's has called the Arch, I think, or the Golden Arch, or the Arch Burger, or something like that. Have you seen this, Dave?
Yes, I have.
What's it called? The Arch Burger or the Arch Meal or something like that?
I think it's Arch Burger, yeah.
The Arch Burger, right? 1,080 calories in an Arch Burger.
Holy mackerel.
1,080, that's one burger. I mean, there's a couple patties in there, but one thing. And that is as much calories as you need for the whole day. Now, I'm not saying a lot of people are eating Arch Burgers, but this is the kind of obliviousness we have to the kind of foods we eat. So it can't help but throw off our body's biochemistry. Those little structures I was telling you about earlier, I didn't want to confuse things, so I didn't say what they were, but they're called mitochondria. And I know it's a big word, and everybody gets all freaked out when they hear that word, but the mitochondria are the little structures in the cells that turn our food into energy. And niacin is the middleman, as I said in there. So you eat a food, it gets turned into energy via these mitochondria. Today, we have a problem with our mitochondria frying out, short-circuiting, burning out. And when that happens, we do not turn food into energy appropriately. And instead of being energized from our food, all that energy that should be going into making things happen in the body goes into storage form. And that's where we're at. So if you want to lose that weight in the middle, it's very easy. I shouldn't say it's very simple, but it's not easy. And by that I mean it's just a simple thing. All you got to do is eat less food, eat different kinds of foods, and start supplementing. But because we don't eat for energy or eat because we need to eat, we eat for psychological reasons, we eat for habitual reasons, it's hard for us to control our food. Look, just an experiment, Ken, and everybody listening, just for one day, when you're hungry, check in with your belly and see if you're really hungry. And if you're not really hungry for your belly, don't eat. And just notice for a day how difficult that is to do. Because in your mind, you'll be like, but I want that pizza, but I want that bread, but I want this. But in your belly, your body will be saying, no, don't do it. And you'll notice that there's this dichotomy, this kind of battle between the soma and the psyche, the body and the mind. The mind will say, go for it. It's calming, you're depressed, it's relaxing, it's going to taste good, it's going to remind you of all the fun stuff, you had a hard day, all these other reasons that have nothing to do with what your body really needs. And if you can just distinguish those two at first, and then if you can actually implement that distinction by only eating when your body says to eat, you're going to notice a dramatic difference in your belt size and in that weight around the middle, and you're going to look a lot better. Now, a couple other things you could do is you can start to build muscle tissue. Muscle tissue controls blood sugar very effectively, and it also is more efficient at energizing the body than fat is. So building muscle is another important strategy, and that's where weightlifting comes in, or resistance training if you don't want to lift weights, any kind of resistance training. And then thirdly, get on a good nutritional supplement program, because the more nutrients you have, the less you're going to crave foods. So between checking in with your soma, your body, and listening to your body and doing what your body says versus your mind, number one, between resistance training and building muscle, number two, and getting on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine and nutritional supplementation, you'll have no problem losing that weight and looking trim in the middle. However, like I said, it's simple, but you'll notice that it's not going to be all that easy.
Okay, but Ben, I follow what you just said about exercise, but I'm trying to differentiate between, because as soon as you said exercise, I'm thinking exercise there in the gut. So if I did
no,
like
not sit-ups. No, I'm not talking about sit-ups and pull-ups. I'm talking about building muscle.
You're talking about the entire
yes,
body building.
Yes, building muscle head to toe. Exactly. It's it's nice to have a six-pack ab and doing crunches and sit-ups and that kind of thing will give you more muscle, more abdominal muscle. But I'm talking about building skeletal muscle tissue head to toe, or at least from the neck down.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you for the call, Ken.
Thank you so much. And by the way, niacin is very, very important for sugar metabolism. It's one of the most important because of that whole mechanism I talked about earlier, and that's another very important nutrient for helping you lose weight. In fact, niacin is said to be a lipolytic, which is the fancy way of saying a fat burner. And niacin, back in the day, I don't know if you remember, you're probably too young to remember this, Dave, but about... I don't know, it was probably the early 90s, late 1980s, there was this big fad of thigh cream. Do you remember thigh cream? Remember that big fad? You probably remember that. It was a big fad. There was commercials for people when they would rub this cream on their thighs, and their thighs would supposedly get thinner. And the active ingredient in these thigh creams there were two active ingredients. One was caffeine, or derivatives of caffeine, something called theophylline, which is kind of similar to caffeine, and then also niacin. So niacin has got fat-burning properties, and taking it orally is not only going to help you with your blood sugar, but can also help you burn fat for energy via this whole mechanism that I talked about earlier.
Wow.
And niacin's amazing, amazing stuff. I'm a big fan. Ultimate niacin for longevity.
All right, ultimate niacin. I'm going to write that down here, Ben, for
Put
the highlights.
Thighs,
and again, you can catch these shows at themineralway.com. There's an archive there. You can catch them along with the notes.
We have people listening online?
Oh, yeah, Ben.
I mean, like, not live. I mean, coming to the program?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. Let's see who we have coming up here, Ben. This caller ends. Oh, who is this? Firefall? Who is this? What do you want? Hey, wake up. There he is.
I want to talk about why milk isn't good for anybody.
Is not good, or is good or not good?
It's not. No animal drinks milk once they're weaned. So there's no reason why humans should drink milk at all, because American Indians never did. People in Africa, the tribal people, they never did. But a lot of meat. So if you want to know how you get your bones strong, you got to have a lot of meat.
Well, how did those African tribesmen eat their cereal? Firefall.
Dave, you are.
Well, they got all those tropical fruits and everything. They got everything they want to eat.
But they're Captain Crunch. What about their Captain Crunch?
So that's one thing. We shouldn't be drinking milk because of the fact that no other vertebrate, no mammal,
well,
no
let
vertebrate
me tell you a little bit about that. First of all, you're right. Cow's milk and milk in general, it's made to make an animal. Cow's milk is made to make a cow, and monkey milk is made to make a monkey. And by the way, why do we drink cow's milk and not squirrel milk or cat milk? Right?
Man.
I mean, how did cows become the holy grail of milk? But here's the thing about milk. Excuse me. There's no getting around the fact that milk is absolutely loaded with nutrition. There's no getting around that. It is loaded. The problem with milk is it's made to build things, build an animal, turn an animal from a baby into an adult, and consequently it's got lots of hormones in it, growth hormones and growth factors and insulin-like growth factor and estrogen, and it's really not a quality food for that reason. That being said, if you really want to drink milk, the best kind of milk to drink is human milk. So everybody should find their own breast to get milk from. Really, I'm only being half facetious, but if you're going to drink milk, drink mother's milk, human mother's milk.
Why don't all the other animals then, once they're weaned, how come they're not drinking milk their whole life?
Because, like I say, milk is meant to grow things, and once you're an adult, you don't necessarily need to grow into an adult. However, the nutritional value of the nutrients in the milk, aside from the growth factors, that's the real problem. Is all these growth factors that are in there, they can be very valuable The problem with milk is, like I said, cows, first of all, make things for cows, and humans make things for humans. And also, our cows today are really, they're not clean. They're given hormones and antibiotics, and sometimes they're given insulin even, and milk already has insulin like growth factors, like I said. So it's not a quality food. Your point is very well taken, on top of the fact that it's homogenized and it's pasteurized and, processed. If you're going to drink milk, raw milk is probably the best way to go, and there is some nutritional value in raw milk, but I don't think it's a quality food either. I agree with you.
Yeah, okay, now about the high fructose corn syrup, and you mentioned something about McDonald's, and you should look up on YouTube about all the terrible stuff they put in McDonald's food.
It's hideous.
And it's only 10% meat, and the fact is, I wanted to just say about high fructose corn syrup. Another thing about the whole young versus old diet. The thing about McDonald's is it was really intended for toddlers, little children up to about age 7. It never was meant to be adult, but now it's 100% toxic. And if you look up the site, all the bad things that they put in the McDonald's food, there's a whole hour-long or 2-hour-long thing about it's a nightmare. And
it's a nightmare. It's a hideous. It's an evil. Yeah. It's all. If you believe in these sorts of things, it's satanic. If you believe in those things, I'm not saying I do or not, but it's that level of evil and maliciousness. Wow. And we have to begin to look at McDonald's that way, and not just McDonald's. They're an icon, but Burger King and all these other places, they're so malicious, and so the substances that they're putting in there in their so-called food, I say so-called food, is so twisted and demonic and anti-human that it needs to be regarded as the evil that it is. And for us to be participating willingly and complicit in ingesting that stuff and driving through it and giving it to our kids, it's mind-boggling to me.
831-479-1080-218-572-6 KSEO at gmail.com. In just a few minutes, we're going to go to a break, Ben, and people can learn how to become a distributor. There are so many things, so many benefits to becoming a distributor that we just don't talk about, Ben.
How about your tax write-off?
You're reading my mind, Ben. That's what I was just going to say. I was going to say you don't realize that starting your own business allows you to do things like get these tax write-offs. If you need a new computer to run your business,
exactly,
or whatever, you can
write off your computer.
Yes, absolutely.
You can write off your home office. You can write off part of your mortgage or your rent.
You know what? I don't know if I should say this, Ben, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. You know the weirdest tax deduction I've ever written off?
What's that?
Pantyhose.
Why are you wearing pantyhose?
I don't wear them, Ben. I use them to repair the mic screen. It has this little netting in front of the mic filter. And so I figured, it's better to buy a $6 pair of pantyhose than to buy a $30.
I'm glad you're not. I don't want to think of that. You wearing pantyhose.
Good. I would send you a picture, Ben. The first time, if I ever do decide, I'll send you.
I'm gonna have a hard time getting that out of my head now.
Yes, tax benefits. Again, you get the training that comes along with you and I, Ben. You get all kinds of training materials. You get your own website.
And you get Zoom calls with Ben, pharmacist Ben and Dave, right?
Yeah, yes, dude.
When the heck is our Zoom calls? I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right. I know, Ben. I know. Well, geez, I'll give
By
you
the
a
way,
call
everybody,
tomorrow.
I want to do the Zoom calls. Dave is slacking off.
What?
Let's be clear.
I'll give you a text tomorrow, Ben. We'll come up with a date tomorrow.
All right, good.
Okay, so in just a few minutes, you're going to want to keep your ears open for that. But in the meantime, let's see what Nick in Royal Oaks has to say. It better be good, Nick.
Nick.
Hey, Ben.
What's crack-a-lacking?
Evil and malicious. That's how I have to look at these guys that drive a personal pickup truck that are diesels.
Yeah, I know.
Because isn't it true that carcinogens will come out in human milk?
That's terrible. Do you ever see that black stuff that comes out of the trucks and they're just driving down the highway? That's just terrible. I know what you're saying.
I saw something on 60 Minutes, and the old eggs have spots on them. That's why they're freezing them, because you get them fresh and young.
What are you talking about? Like chicken eggs?
No, people eggs.
You mean female, like human eggs have spots?
People eggs.
Yeah.
People eggs.
I had a question that's kind of off the wall.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I just heard the news, and I wanted to ask you, do you have a woke agenda?
Do I have a woke agenda?
Yeah, they just fired somebody in Washington for having a woke agenda.
What does that mean, a woke agenda?
Doesn't that mean awake and leftist or something?
I don't know what woke agenda means, but I know when they talk about woke, they talk about like forcing you to say what pronoun you are. I don't really know. Do you know, Dave?
I don't know. Like people are pregnant people versus.
Dave, what are your pronouns anyway?
I am a man, Ben. I am all man. I go.
Nick,
by
what are your pronouns?
Pronoun he, him.
He, him.
Yeah. Nick.
Anything but right?
What's that?
Anything but right or wrong?
I don't, the whole, I think you're talking about right and left. If the whole right and left, I try to stay away from the whole
we stay away from that, dude.
I try not to get
Thank you for the call, Nick. 831-479-1080-218-5726. I identify as he, him.
He, him, okay.
Yes, that's how I identify, Ben. Let's get to tell you what, Ben, let's take a break. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back, and we will answer more questions. I got some text messages here that we need to get to, as well as some emails. So keep it tuned in. This is The Mineral Way. Listen up, because we're about to tell you how you can become a distributor. If you do want to become a distributor and you want to purchase any of the longevity products that you hear pharmacist Ben and myself talk about, you want to go to themineralway.com. That's themineralway.com. That is the best place to either make your purchase or become a distributor, themineralway.com. Log on today, become a distributor today, and get pharmacist Ben Fuchs and me on your team today. It only takes a few minutes. You can start your own business for only $30. Again, check out themineralway.com. All kinds of benefits that come along with owning your own business, including tax deductions. You get your own website. You can work from home. You get all kinds of training materials. Themineralway.com is the place to go if you want to become a longevity distributor or even just order your products that you hear pharmacist Ben Fuchs and me talk about.
The next disaster is coming. Make a plan. Keep extra medication on hand. Make copies of important documents. Stay informed and be ready. Learn more at americares.org/sendusin.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult and trying personal problems every day on my TV show, but there's one problem that's just got me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. That's 1 in 5 kids who may not know where their next meal is coming from, despite the fact that there's more than enough healthy, nutritious food out there to feed them all. Now, I don't know about you, but that is unacceptable to me. Luckily, the Feeding America network of good people is out there collecting surplus food and giving hope to hungry children and their families at local food banks all across the country. But let's face it, they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
(831-218-5726) is the text line, and perhaps that's the easiest way to send your questions, especially if you're not listening live. We film these, or we record these live every Monday, 5 o'clock Pacific time. But if you're listening online, or maybe you're listening to the podcast, or you're watching this on YouTube, 831-218-5726 or themineralway.com might be the best way to submit your questions. But if you are listening live Monday evening, 5 o'clock, then the best way to participate is to give us a phone call, 831-479-1080. Here with pharmacist Ben Fuchs on The Mineral Way. Ben, are you ready for another question?
I cannot wait.
Okay.
I'm super excited.
Well, here we go. This is actually a text message. It says, I need help. Oh, boy. They say that they've had trouble with, well, it says, I'm just going to read this, Ben. I don't know how to sugarcoat this. I need help. I had colorectal cancer 9 years ago and have trouble every day with my colon, constipation or diarrhea every day of my life. Horrible. Please help me. Thank you.
Oh, my gosh. Oh. Now, they didn't say whether they lost part of their colon. So
they
I'm
did
gonna,
say that.
Did they?
No, they did not.
Yes, I'm going to assume that's not an issue for them.
Okay.
That they have their whole colon intact. Constipation should be regarded as a couple things. First of all, it should be regarded as your colon is in freeze response. That means it's freaked out, and that usually involves eating the wrong kinds of foods. So if you're eating things that your digestive immune system is responding to, gluten is of course the one everybody talks about, but there's many factors in vegetables, grain, seeds, processed chemicals, and etc. Your intestine can sometimes freeze. and that'll lock it up. And that can be one source of constipation. A second source of constipation can be a lack of fiber. And if you're eating the standard American diet, there's a good chance that you've got a lack of fiber. Fiber, I make a fiber drink every day or every other, probably 5 days a week or so. My own fiber beverage. It's super filling. It's a very quick breakfast. If you do it correctly, and if you don't want a lot of dishes and you're in a hurry, it's really filling and super nutritious, and it's great fiber. I take flax seeds, I grind them up in a coffee grinder, take the flax seeds out, and it turns it into a powder. I put it in water. Sometimes if I'm, ambitious, I'll put a little bit of blueberry or something in there too. A little stevia, stir it up, and I make this a flax fiber drink. It's got more protein than an egg. It's got, if you do two tablespoons, it's got more protein than an egg. It's got vitamin E and vitamin magnesium and iron and zinc, and it's just loaded with selenium. It's loaded with nutrients. It's got essential fats, particularly omega-3 fats, and it's filling, and it's great for your bowels. Now, also vegetables, of course, are great fiber for your bowels for keeping everything moving. So that's the second thing. The third thing is water. A lot of your stool is water, and if you don't have enough water, many people do not have enough water. I can't say this enough. Many people are walking around dehydrated. It can cause pain, physical pain. It can cause brain fog. It can accelerate the aging process, and it can impair digestion. And by the way, you do want to drink water with meals. There's some myth out there that says you don't drink water with meals. It's not true. You want water with your meals unless you're eating a well-hydrated food, which most of us aren't. So water will help improve bowel functioning. And then one of the most incredible supplements that you can take for improving bowel function that nobody talks about. Should I tell you what it is?
Wait, let me take a guess.
Yeah.
Is it grapes?
No, it's a nutrient. It's an essential nutrient.
Calcium.
Nope. Calcium actually has a clogging effect, and magnesium will have a bowel relaxing effect, we'll say. Okay. And magnesium, I forgot to mention, magnesium is also helpful as a laxative. But the one I'm thinking of is a nerve vitamin. It's thiamine, vitamin B1. Oh. The disease caused by vitamin B1 is called beriberi. It means I can't. Because when you don't have vitamin B1, thiamine, and I'll tell you why we don't have enough thiamine in a moment here. When you don't have enough thiamine, your nerves suffer. It's a nerve vitamin. And because everything runs with nerves, that means none of your body doesn't work. And beriberi literally means in Swahili, I can't. Because nothing works. So thiamine is very important in fact, thiamine is so important for the brain. If you have this condition called alcoholic psychosis syndrome or Werner-Korsakoff syndrome, where, you ever see these drunk people drinking, beer out of the paper bag or wine or whatever it is, and they're talking to pink elephants and leprechauns and they're hallucinating and they're babbling, and that's all a sign of alcoholic psychosis. And thiamine is literally the cure. I mean, they put it right in your blood and your alcoholic psychosis goes away, but you got to wonder, maybe you don't have alcoholic psychosis, but maybe you're just forgetful, or maybe you're just you have learning disabilities, or, you might just have your brain's not operating at peak efficiency. It could be a thiamine deficiency, and the more alcohol you drink, or the more sugar you eat, bread you eat, pasta you eat, rice you eat, the more likely you're going to be deficient in this incredible vitamin. There's so much, I wish I could just talk all hour about thiamine, but I can't, so I'm going to have to skip over a few things. But this beriberi condition that I just mentioned also has a gastrointestinal version called GI beriberi. And GI beriberi does the same thing that the rest of beriberi does. It makes the neurology of your digestive tract less efficient. Mm-hmm. And so thiamine, by enervating the nerves in the digestive tract, the lower digestive tract, is a wonderful treatment for constipation, particularly in thiamine deficient people, which is most people. I'll tell you why that occurs here in a second, but let me just add a couple really quick things about thiamine. Thiamine, vitamin B1, is also very important for diabetics, for blood sugar, and as I said earlier, the more sugar you eat, the more deficient you're going to be in thiamine. You got to wonder how many kids who are going to school eating their Captain Crunch or, cocoa chip, marshmallow, whatever the heck their cereal they're eating, and orange juice and Pop-Tarts, are going to school thiamine deficient, and that's why they got the ADD, or that's why they have the emotional issues. It could be a simple vitamin B1 deficiency. And then the reason why this is such a big problem, aside from the fact that we're all eating these B1 depleting foods, is because the RDA, what does the RDA stand for? You remember, Dave?
Recommended daily allowance.
No, the ridiculous deficiency allowance, because it's there to keep you ridiculously deprived of the nutrients you need. it's twisted, and I keep saying the word evil. It's hard to avoid that word when you talk about this kind of stuff, but it's definitely twisted to keep people deprived of maximum nutrition. The RDA for thiamine is so pathetically low that and that's in a multivitamin, most people are getting a speck of the thiamine that they need in order to leverage all these incredible benefits that I just talked about. So we're all walking around B1 deficient, unless, Dave, you get on your Beyond Tangy Tangerine.
Yes, Ben.
Which is one of the best, one of the most important, and most valuable assets in this formulation is the B1, and you're getting a bunch of B1 in there.
Ben, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I was going to talk about, I was going to focus this week, because every week I want to focus on something different that Longevity sells. Tangy Tangerine, you just mentioned, is part of the Healthy Start Pack, and there's different forms of the Healthy Start Pack. I want to talk about the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack.
You like that one? Huh?
I like the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, Ben.
I'll tell you, everybody needs the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack. So they market it just for diabetics or people who have, and let me digress real quick. Mm-hmm. Just because the doctor says you're not a diabetic doesn't mean that you don't have messed up blood sugar. Diabetes is a brand name, and this is a very important concept in medicine. Doctors, the medical model, own brand names. So for me to say you can use thiamine for your diabetes, I could lose my license, go to jail, get sued, whatever. I could get in trouble for that. Mm-hmm. Because diabetes is owned, it's a brand name, it's like Kleenex or Xerox, right? There's tissues and there's Kleenex. There's copying machines and then there's Xerox. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? There's this concept of brand names. Diseases are brand names. You do not get to use them unless you are a fully fledged member of the medical model. But what you can do is you can use the biochemistry that the brand name refers to. So you can say copying machine, but you can't say Xerox. Mm-hmm. You can say dysglycemia, but you can't say diabetes. You with me?
Yes.
Dysglycemia means disturbs blood sugar. Anybody can say that. That's copying machine. That's a tissue. You can't say diabetes because that's Xerox or Kleenex. So the point I'm making here is just because the doctor says you're not a diabetic doesn't mean you're out of the woods, because you could still be dysglycemic. You could still have messed up blood sugar. And so the doctor will say, oh, you don't have diabetes, your blood sugar's fine, blah, 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 blah. What he's doing is he's looking at your test score. And if you're at a 120, I'm not going to necessarily get into the units. I don't want to confuse the matter, but we'll say if you're at a 120, you're a diabetic. Boom, you're diabetic. But if you're at 119.9999999, you've got great blood sugar. You're perfect. Do you see this fallacy here? Mm-hmm. The stupidity, right? You don't go by these test scores. The test scores are crazy to me. Did you ever have your blood test done?
Yes, not too long ago, yes.
Right. Did they say high, low, and all that stuff with the arrows and normal?
It was a little high, my cholesterol, but everything else was all right.
So let's just stick with the cholesterol, a little high, right?
Okay, yes.
High compared to what? Hello? Has anybody ever thought of that? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What's it compared to? How do they get the normal? What's normal? There's no normal. What they do is they take a bunch of people together, they stick them in a room, they do all the testing, and they average everything out. And that's considered normal. It's an algorithm. Okay. It's a statistic. But the problem, Dave, is you're not a statistic. You're a person. People are not statistics. Statistics value is for taking large numbers of individual pieces of data and averaging everything out. But individuals don't lend themselves to statistics or statistical analysis. So how do you know you're high? Oh, well, we just compared it to the reference range. Well, how do you know that that's relevant for Dave? Maybe that's normal for Dave. Do you follow me? Mm-hmm. And why is this important, Dave? Because you're going to get drugged based on that. You're going to get surgically operated and carved up like a Christmas turkey based on that. You're going to get insurance premiums based on that. You're going to get doctor visits and costs of doctor visits and various tests based on that. A cascade of lifestyle changes and costs are going to be applied to your life based on this reading that nobody ever bothered to question. Do you see how impactful this is? Mm-hmm. We've created an entire medical model that has so many places in it that nobody has thought to look at to see if they make sense. Here's another silly example, of the silliness. You go to the doctor and you tell him, your symptoms. Oh, my muscles hurt. I got this muscle pain. All throughout head to toe, my muscles hurt. And he says, oh, you have fibromyalgia. So what does that mean? It means you have muscle pain. Well, I just told you that, you dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or you have this pussy boils coming out of your, there's a disease where this is pretty gross, right? Check this out. You get these boils under your armpits and your groin.
Damn.
And in your neck. And it gets worse. And these boils, they leak out pus. And they'll explode pus.
Oh, man.
Oh, no, it gets worse. And the pus is really smelly on top of everything else. Can you imagine this horrible health condition? I'm laughing. It's not funny.
It's not funny, Ben.
No, it's not funny.
Oh,
so you go to the doctor, and he says, oh, you look at these boils, and you got these cysts and all these things under, and he says, oh, you have hidradenitis suppurativa. What does that mean? You have inflamed sweat glands that are pussy. He tells you what you have in Latin. Do you get what I'm saying?
Why would he do that?
Because this is the model. This is how medicine works. It's called diagnosis. Diagnosis is about taking the processes and the things that I can see, the symptoms of your health challenge, and lumping it, putting a Latin name on it, and then putting it into a classification system where you can now get billed, and you can now get drugs, and you can now get surgery. It's a heuristic. It simplifies things. It's a shortcut, but it doesn't help us get better. The problem isn't the boils and the cysts. The problem is what's causing the boils and the cysts. The boils and the cysts are the fruit. They're the rotten apple on the tree. You can't fix the rotten apple on the tree. You got to get to the soil, and your diagnosis doesn't tell you squat about the soil. It just tells you about the rotten apple. Are you with me, Dave?
I'm with you, Ben.
Can you see how crazy this is? Our whole medical model is crazy. And that's why the more representatives of the medical model we have, the sicker we get. And the worst place you can ever go if you're sick is to a hospital, unless you have no other choice, or it's like a severe infection of some kind, or you need to be stitched up. But if you have a metabolic issue, you want to take care of it with the reason, by addressing the reason or the cause of the metabolic issue, which is our lifestyle. Period. We have to start to look at healing as being lifestyle. And this is one of the reasons why I connected with Dr. Wallach so much and with longevity so much, because he understood that it's lifestyle. Now, he focused on nutrition, which is great. We all need nutrition. Personally, I talk about the 4 dimensions, SMEP, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. And as far as physical goes, it's not just nutrition. It's exercise. It's breathing. It's stretching. There's all kinds of things that you could do, activating the vagal nerve, the polyvagal system, the parasympathetic nervous system, muscle relaxation, that kind of thing. And then spiritual, mental, and emotional have to be addressed as well. But the point is there's no room for the medical model there. If you break your leg, get it stitched, you need to go to the hospital. Absolutely. If you have a severe infection, probably need to go to the hospital as well. But if you have diabetes, autoimmunity, dementia, cardiovascular issues, all the things that are that cost us, 80 to 90% of our healthcare costs in this country, they're lifestyle.
Absolutely, Ben. Man, I tell you what, Ben, you are so full of information. It's crazy.
Is it overwhelming?
It is overwhelming a little bit, but some people just really, really want to know this.
That's what I think.
And for those who do,
those are our peeps.
Those are our peeps, man. You need to become a distributor. Now, again, I hope you listen to the message. We'll have one coming up after the show on where you can go to become a distributor. But you get pharmacist Ben Fuchs and me on your team, but especially Ben. I mean, just listen to this guy. That's fantastic. That's part of the support that you get.
I did a Zoom call last week, and usually my Zoom calls are very well received, like the ones you and I will do soon. Mm-hmm. I did it for my skincare business on PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Mm-hmm. You probably haven't heard of this, but it's pretty hideous. And there's a lot of things in polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I talked for like an hour on Zoom. And I was talking to my salespeople today, and one of the gals who works for me says, there was one problem. There was some lady who said it was too overwhelming, and she had to turn it off. She had to hang up. And I thought, she has a point. Mm-hmm. It is. I'm giving you all the stuff that I've learned over 40 years of studying this stuff, and I'm trying to distill it into an hour or whatever, short period of time, and I can see it being overwhelming. Mm-hmm. But I'm only giving this information to people who actually want the minutia, the details. Mm-hmm. The overriding message here, the meta message, if you will, is that we can do this. I like to give you the facts of it because I don't want to be that guy who says just take this and take that. Oh, you just need this supplement, that supplement. I don't like doing that. I want to respect people's intelligence. So I want to tell you why things work and how they work. So you can feel like you're just kind of participating in your own healthcare rather than, I'm taking this because the doctor told me or because the pharmacist or the healthcare guy or Dr. Wallach or whoever said take this. I want you to know what's happening, but you don't need to know.
Right.
Dave, you could just take the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You're going to feel better.
I was thinking about this morning, Ben, and I got to get to some phone calls, but I was thinking about you and I, the difference between you and I and the approach that we take. I don't know why this stuff works. All I know is that this stuff works. Try it for yourself, and you're going to see that it works.
It's a better approach.
Why,
it's a more powerful approach.
But I don't need to understand
why. You
why.
don't need to understand. Right. You just know it works. Yeah. That's a more powerful approach in a way. Because you don't understand, but you just know it works. That's what counts. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. It's not, I love theory as much as the next, I'm a theory junkie. I'm a scientist. I just love science. I love the minutia of it, the ins and outs and the puzzling of it, how it all put together. But you don't need to know it, Dave. And you're living proof of that.
Absolutely, Ben.
Right?
Ben, let's get to another phone call, then we'll take some text messages and see how much time we end up with here.
And by the way, there's not a single physician who's listening to this program, if there are any, or scientist or biologist or biochemist who can argue with anything I said. Because what I'm talking about is not assertion. It's simply biochemistry or biology, the process. And nobody can argue with the process. And that's another reason why I like to really underscore or give the fundamentals of all of these kinds of benefits that we know that lifestyle and nutritional supplement, incorporating a nutritional supplement program can provide for us. So I really want scientists who are listening to this, or those scientifically minded, to really feel comforted that there's an irrefutable background or underpinning to all of the things that we're talking about here. Irrefutable.
Absolutely. And if you try to refute it, we'll give you one of these, Ben, right? A knuckle sandwich.
A knuckle sandwich? All right.
All right. Let's head out to Aptos and see what Flinks has to say. You're in the air.
Nobody
Flinks.
says knuckle sandwich anymore.
Gosh, there's so much to respond to here. I don't want to be in the negative because there's some things I've seen and experienced this with family and stuff that kind of goes against what you're saying.
I want to hear one thing.
Huh?
I want to hear one thing.
Well, no, I don't think doctors are blanket statement the same way as the doctors you're referring to. The experience.
I never said doctors. I never said doctors. I said medical model.
Well, it just see now you got me good. I was just going to say that
I'm very careful not to say. Well, hang on. Let me say this real quick. I'm very careful not to use the word doctors. I always say representative.
The medical model, and then to say that people are, they just go, don't, just do this, don't. That's kind of insulting to the doctors.
I never said doctors.
Who's going to be saying that stuff but the doctors?
Okay. All right. But I like doctors. The fact is, I have a lot of friends who are so-called doctors. I love that. And it's a beautiful profession. They got into the profession to help people. It's the model. Okay. It's the paradigm.
I think the experience I've had with doctors, I'm just going to go off I had something else I called about, but I feel like I have to argue this point, is I think that doctors want you to do it naturally, but my heart doctor and the stuff that I've gone through with everything, and my brother and my dad, they save lives. They can save you.
Hang on. I get that point. I've heard that many times. Let me address it. I know what you're saying.
I'm not done.
Well, let me just address that point, and then we'll get to the other ones. Okay? Because that's an important point what you just said. They help people. They save lives. Duh. Obviously. But they save lives in people who are already at the end because of their lifestyle. So by the time you go to a doctor with a 90% occlusion of your arteries, you probably want a bypass at that point. Or you probably want a blood thinner at that point because you mucked up the system so far that, right? That's the point. Yes, of course you're going to need a doctor at that point. But what I'm saying is you really want to address these with lifestyle. And if you're down the rabbit hole where you have to have a procedure or you need a drug, yes, obviously. But you still want to address it with lifestyle, and your goal should be to wean yourself off the drug or to avoid a surgical procedure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And my heart doctor, and I'm just going to go to this. I called about polyps, but I got off topic because you guys got on another
Polyps
subject.
are good. We can talk about the next.
Well, I want you to respond to colonoscopies, but let me say something about my heart doctor and the heart doctor. He said, in his experience, because he thinks diet, everything you talk about, he says works. It all works. But in his experience, every time someone comes in to get retested for their blood pressure and their blood and all that stuff, it doesn't change.
Okay,
it doesn't change. So it would change if they were taking
The drug.
tangy tangerine, and they were doing the proper stuff, your blood pressure does change. So I think that's kind of inaccurate because you're saying, oh, your blood pressure is going to be the same when you're drunk and you're doing all this stuff, and as it will when you take the tangy tangerine.
I said
but
this.
Your tangy tangerine would make your blood pressure better, right?
Well, hang on. I didn't quite understand what you're saying, but I think I hear where you're going. The tangy tangerine does not lower your blood pressure. The beta blocker lowers your blood pressure. The nutrients do not lower your blood pressure. I want to be very, 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 very clear. That's a critical point. Because the medical model will cheat. And they'll say, look, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine didn't lower your blood pressure, but my beta blocker did. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine nutrition gives the body the raw materials it needs to do its work. Do you see what I'm saying here? This is not allopathic nutrition. This is not it's not taking a nutrient like you're taking a drug. It turns out when you use thiamine and niacin and magnesium and coenzyme Q10, these tend to relax the blood vessels, which lowers the blood pressure. They don't force the blood pressure down like a beta blocker. They give the body, the cells specifically, the energy they need to do their work. That's what we're looking for here. You don't want to start saying, I have this disease, I want to take this supplement. I call it this for that. You don't want to practice this for that, or also allopathic nutrition where you're against disease. Allopathy means against disease. Allo is against, pathy means disease. Allopathy says we fight disease. And that's a model that allows for pharmaceuticals to be used. You want to be very careful about applying that model to nutrition. Nutrition gives the body what it needs so it can do the work. And that's the key. You know, in the Bible, there's a really cool story in Exodus where Moses is leading the children out of Israel, and the children of Israel were always complaining and bitching and moaning, we should have stayed in Egypt. What did you take us out for? And so Moses has enough of this, and finally the children of Israel say, we want water. We don't have any water. You took us out in the desert. We're going to get water. Moses is just sick of these bitching and moaning people. And he goes up to God and he says, this is the story anyway. He goes up to God and says, what am I going to do about these people? They're just complaining and complaining. Now they want water. So God says, go to the rock and ask the rock to give you water, and it'll give you water. And Moses goes to the rock, and he's so upset. He's so frustrated. He's so pissed off. He takes a stick and he hits the rock. And the rock isn't water, but because he was Moses, he should know better, he doesn't get to go to the promised land. The moral of the story is you don't hit the rock, you ask the rock. Beta blockers hit the rock. The tools of the medical model hit the rock. They say, you're dumb, body, I'm smart, and I'm going to give you a drug, and I'm going to cut you up, because I know better than you. And I'm not talking about doctors, by the way. I'm talking about the paradigm, the model. The nutritional model says, manja, eat, my like your grandmother, it's like kind, it's gentle, it's nourishing. The drug model is Darth Vader. It's twisted. It's this kind of...
Can I ask one more thing?
Dominating... Well, let me just say one last thing, and yes, I'm sorry. This is no knock on doctors or nurses. Absolutely not. I want to be very clear about that. This is no knock on them. They're beautiful people for the most part. I have a lot of friends who are physicians. They're good, kind, beautiful people. This is not a knock on them. It's the paradigm and the model. And I want to be very clear about that, okay? Because I don't want to be... This knocking on doctors, I don't approve of that at all. Especially nurses, by the way, because they're angels. They're saints. But even doctors are beautiful people. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say real quick, like with my blood pressure, when I go in, they call it white coat syndrome or whatever.
Yes.
It'll be like 156 over 63. And then I'll go in, it'll be 182 over 643. And it'll be the top number is always big. And I think the top number gets big when I get nervous. And then I think that I'm not walking around with my blood pressure 173 over 40 all the time. But they say a lot of that can happen with alcohol. If you're consuming a lot of alcohol, your blood pressure can go up closer to 200. And 200 is dangerous. I mean, you don't want to be near that number, right?
Well, 200 is crazy. But again, the systolic pressure is the first number. And that measures the pressure when the blood is pushing against the arteries, when the heart beats. The diastolic, which is the lower number, the easier number, that's a measurement of the force of your blood as your heart is relaxing and refilling. So that's why one number is higher than the other. So no, 200 over whatever, that's the systolic. That is not. That's pretty high, and that's a lot of pressure. The real problem with pressure is what's causing the pressure. This is the problem with the medical model in general. Listen to what I'm going to say. And what's your name again? I'm sorry?
Flinks.
Flinks. I think I know Flinks. I think I talked to Flinks before. So Flinks, check this out. Why is the pressure high? The pressure is high. They call this, by the way, essential hypertension, meaning we have no idea. It's just, it just is. But why is it? There's nothing essential. Everything has a reason. So why is it? Because the blood is inflamed, and the tissue is inflamed, and oxygen and nourishment are not getting to the tissues. So the brain is reading this, and it's saying, okay, let's get the pressure going to get more oxygen, more nutrition. When we artificially lower the blood pressure, you make matters worse downstream. Are you with me here?
Yeah, because diet. This draws back to diet.
It does, but you're blocked a compensatory mechanism, adaptive mechanism. The brain's adapting to the inflammation, so it's raising the pressure. And the medical model, I'm so smart and you're just dumb body, you stupid body, we're going to give you a beta blocker or a calcium channel blocker or whatever, diuretic, whatever kind of antihypertensive they choose. Now, I'm being a little facetious here because they mean well. I get that. And I get high blood pressure can be a problem. But what I'm saying is, like you just said, Flanks, let's work with the lifestyle. Let's work with the food, the exercise, the SMEP, the spiritual, mental, and emotional aspects. Don't you think that's a more elegant way of doing it?
I do. We got to move on, Ben. But thank you for the call.
Thanks, Flanks.
831-479-1080. Ben, I don't think we have enough time.
Enough time.
I got another call from Marcia. Let's see what her question is, and maybe we'll address it next week.
Okay.
Marcia, you are in the air. Thank you for the call.
Thanks so much. I just want to say, the Daily Classic, the Ultimate Daily Classic, really does bring the blood pressure down.
There you go.
And I also want to say this: people don't understand what's been done to our world, but we've had bioweapons made that cause cancer.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Look, so just know that we just love God, the body that was made by God.
Praise God. Look, I believe in the spiritual. It's SMEP for a reason. Spiritual's first. And I personally, I consider myself to be a spiritual. I didn't say religious, by the way. I said spiritual person. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an incredibly important part. You know what spirituality is to me, Dave?
What?
And we'll sum up with this, okay? Because do I have 2 minutes?
Thank you for the call, Marshall. We got 1 minute left. Thank you for the call.
Look, they asked Albert Einstein. They said, Albert Einstein, if you could ask God one thing, what would it be? He said, I would ask God, is the universe a friendly place? And I love that answer because really that's ultimately what spirituality is to me, is seeing the world as a friendly place, seeing God as in control, seeing everything in working order, feeling safe in the world. Jesus says you have to be saved. It's that you have to be safe. You have to feel safe that you're it's good. God is good. It's under control. The plants are going just fine. The planet is circling just fine. Everything in the big picture is in working order. Nobody gets out of here alive anyway. And, there's so many big things to appreciate about being alive. This psychedelic, holographic, total immersion movie experience that we consider life is the most incredible, amusement park virtual reality show you could ever be in.
I love it, Ben. We got to end it there, Ben. We are out of time. Listen up because we're going to tell you how you can join the team, become a distributor, or even just buy your products that you hear us talk about. And that message is coming up. Keep it tuned in. This is The Mineral Way. Pharmacists Ben Fuchs and Dave Michaels. We'll see you next time. Looking for a better way to take charge of your health and maybe even your income? Then listen up, because themineralway.com is your one-stop destination for world-class longevity products and a powerful business opportunity. At themineralway.com, you can order the same high-quality supplements featured on the Mineral Way podcast, trusted by thousands and shipped to customers across the U.S. and other countries around the world. And these aren't just any products. They're designed to support energy, clarity, mobility, all the things that help you live better, feel better, and stay active no matter your age. But here's where it gets really exciting. You can also become a distributor. When you enroll through themineralway.com, your sponsors, also known as your upline, are none other than pharmacist Ben Fuchs and me, Dave Michaels. That means you're not on your own. You'll get expert training, a full library of support materials, and your very own professional website all ready to go. You can run your entire entire business from your home computer, smartphone, or landline. No employees, no building to rent, no overhead, just you helping others, building a business, and creating a future. And if you're the kind of person who listens to the show, you already get it. You care about your health, you care about people. That makes you the perfect candidate to start your own business. Imagine setting your own hours, working with a team that wants to see you succeed, and waking up each day knowing that you're making a difference for yourself and for others. Plus, you can go at your own pace. Whether you want to earn a little extra on the side or go full time, you're in control. No pressure, just real support and real opportunity. And here's the kicker. It's your business. You can pass it on to a family member or even sell it down the road. So whether you're looking to improve your health, build something meaningful, or add new income stream, it's all waiting for you. There is a better way, themineralway.com. That's themineralway.com. Check it out today.